April 8th, 2024, along a narrow path across North America, people witnessed something that will not occur again in my lifetime. My bonding of the Temptress keel.
I'm very excited. I'm looking up when I can.
Oh, it's so close.
It's getting very dark right now. Very dark. You can see the shadow going across.
This is the start of it. It's dark over here. It's light over there.
This is
The shadow's
amazing.
coming.
Crowds are going nuts. We're about to get word that we're at
That's
total.
Venus.
Oh, you can see the planets. The crowds are going nuts. This is crazy. Bob, this is amazing.
Here we go.
Don't look at the
Close.
sun yet. It's
Real
not quite
close.
totality, but you can still see some of the planets right away.
Very close. You got about 15
And the crowd
seconds.
is very happy.
shadow bands.
Oh, total darkness here. This is incredible. Oh, wow.
There it is.
There
Diamond
it is.
ring.
Diamond ring.
Diamond
wow,
ring.
it's amazing.
Hold
It's
the
amazing.
filter.
That is awesome. Look at that. Oh, and Bob, that's amazing.
Wow. Jupiter.
Complete totality. I see Jupiter.
Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous.
Wow, this is amazing, Bob.
Wow, that is huge.
Of course, to prepare for the ultimate bonding, it took a lot of ripping, cutting, and dry fitting boards for the keel. The keel widens from 4 to 7 inches between frames 10 and 11. I chose to do this by tapering the boards. The keel again widens from 7 inches to 12 inches wide between frames 12 and 13. I filled this space with 2.5 inch thick laminates. To clean up the excess epoxy, it was time to bring out old Bessie. I dry fit all the boards, and then I called an audible back at the transom.
So I'm not really comfortable cutting out this whole section and building it back up and leveling it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna butt the first 2 boards of the keel right up against the transom. And then I'm gonna cut out a notch. I'm gonna put 1 board all the way through and then butt the rest up to the top. That way I keep this nice line here. And by going through with one of them, I should have some, not everything will be butted. I should have some good force holding the transom to the keel. So I'm doing this a little bit differently than Dan Lee did it.
With the slot cut, I continued dry fitting the keel. While I prefer the mini belt sander, I did use the plane to narrow down the keel boards to ensure they would fit within the keel slots. It was finally time to bond the keel.
So I've cut these boards, I've cut the keel boards in place, and I'm doing it a little bit differently. I'm actually cutting the angles because I use the keel to align the center of the frames when I was getting everything positioned. So back where it's 7 inches here, I've got full boards narrowing down to the 4-inch part of the keel. And then I've cut these, I think the best way to describe them is the extra width in this position for the full 12 inches. So 7, so these must be 2.5 inches wide. So I'm gonna, now that I have everything cut out, I'm going to start bonding with the adhesive. And I think I told you before that I actually used a router to round off the edges rather than try to get perfect angles here inside the keel notches. One more thing to point out is all of my chine flats are level, so I must have built frame 13 at a little bit of a not tall enough. So I had to choose between making the bottom of the boat perfectly level or the chines level. I went with the chines, which means I'm gonna have to do some fairing or figure out how to get this up a little bit. And in order to get the keel flat, I had to cut this, which is about 0.2 inches. It's gonna go into the keel filler so everything's nice and flat. First thing I'm gonna do is wet the keel slots. And I'm wetting these with unthickened epoxy because it is plywood in here and I wanna make sure it absorbs nicely and doesn't dry out the joint. I'm probably gonna wetten inside of this cut here. I decided instead of cutting out the entire notch as Dan Lee did 12 inches wide, I'm just gonna take one of the 7-inch wide boards and I'm gonna slot it through so I have things that are butting up to the joint and a board that goes right through to give it extra shear force. So this is epoxy thickened with the West System high density filler. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems a lot like calcium carbonate to me. When I put this in, I'm sure it's gonna squeeze under the boat and make a mess on the concrete floor, and I'm okay with that because you can clean this up with a heat gun. Just get it over its glass transition temperature. It should clean up nicely. Okay, I have my little filler that goes into frame 13. It's gonna fit in just like that, so I'm gonna put epoxy on that one. So now, what I'd like to do is get this lined up nicely just to wet that surface. Should probably flip this over so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get it wet where it's going to mate.
all the way in and lay it down flush here. Okay, so the first board is in. Now what I want to do is put in these side fillers so all the other boards can get laminated easily. So, I'm back with my same old trick here. I made sure that the side spacers were parallel by using shims underneath the keel. From this point forward, I continue to add more thickened epoxy and keep adding layers of keel boards. Oh, I gotta get it wet up to this point. Let's think this through. It's gonna go like that. So I gotta get it wet up to this line. I'm gonna wet these notches and I'm gonna put all the stringers in, and of course my camera is not in the perfect position, but it's okay, you'll get an idea. So now, coming all the way to the back, I'm gonna start and put one more layer through. I put another one of these boards to line up. So I'll be placing this, but this board is gonna come right through my gap. I have one more board I'm going to put on the back here, then I'll just finish up the front because I have other things I got to get done today. At this point, I must admit that I did not have enough modern clamps, so I pulled out the old clamps, and I mean old. Several days later, I added the remaining layers of boards to the keel.
I tell you, it's really impressive, Bob, because
Oh my gosh, it's getting better. See that prominence at the
yes,
bottom
at
of
the
it?
bottom, there's a prominence. I see it.
Wow. I keep looking
I
for
can't believe the
mercury, so
clarity. That it's so much
it's-
darker than 2017.
It's gorgeous. And what's awesome, we have 6 telescopes running back here,
That's
capturing
awesome.
data, streaming this.
And that's a big important part here. This is not just capturing image to share with people watching the show. You are actually capturing scientific data that can be used by scientists everywhere.